my friends, and welcome. In Season 6, SpiritBorn is king, and queen, and god. However, if you find you're looking to play another class, here are some solid options to check out. A little note here, I'm going to showcase each build running through T65 pits. To give you an idea how each class will handle T4 content, I spent roughly the same amount of time building each character. They're all in the early stages of endgame, with crap gear and limited masterworking, although they are using the Mythics and Uniques required to run each build. Alright, let's start with the Boulder Druid. I have to say, when this build came online, it took me by surprise. It does require a bit of cooldown reduction to maintain permanent uptime on Hurricane. Tempering Hurricane duration on gear is essential. The Dolmen Stone is key for this build, as it enables the boulders to rotate around you while Hurricane is active. I used the Mobalytics Boulder Bear variant as a template for my run with the Druid. I chose most of the builds on this list based on whether or not they use the Shroud of False Death. The Boulder Bear uses the following uniques: Vasily's Prayer, Shroud of False Death, Wildheart Hunger boots, the Dolmen Stone amulet, and the Ring of Starless Sky. The skill rotation is quite simple and really focuses on keeping up Hurricane and casting boulders into its vortex to create, well, flying boulders that smash through anything in your path. Initially, I used Flicker Steps to reset Petrify for lots of extra resource. Paired with the Shaco, I was able to enjoy constant rock hurling, even at the early stages of the build. I genuinely enjoyed my time leveling this build and plan to really take it through its paces and see how far I can take it, time permitting. Next, we have the Dance of Knives Rogue. This build is fresh on the scene for Season 6. It has some contention, however, as it requires snapshotting. This was very off-putting for me, and I regret not trying it sooner. The Dance of Knives Rogue I used was the max roll version. It requires the Cowl of the Nameless, Shroud of False Death, Fists of Fate, Tybalt's Will, and Ashira's Dagger. This build really reminds me of the Demon Hunter class from Diablo 3. Once I got a feel for the rotation, it wasn't difficult to zoom through these pit runs. Using the Shroud can make snapshotting a bit more technical because you need to make sure you aren't in stealth mode when you cast Concealment. Rotation is something like this. Use Blade Shift to get stacks of Ashuras and Alchemical Advantage. Drink 2 potions to activate Reckless Sacrifice Rune Word. Use Dark Shroud, use your Imbuement skill, cast Concealment, and begin channeling Dance of Knives. Never look back. There are some nuances getting started with this build, like simply moving fast enough to keep your charges of knives from running out. The build guide gets into the nitty-gritty and will help you with any issues you might run into. Next is the Throw Barb. I chose to use Bash variant that requires snapshotting the overpower guarantee that Bash provides, then throwing the mighty projectiles to achieve boosted critical damage. By tempering Bash cleaves, you can pull in mobs with Steel Grasp, bonk them with Bash once, gain enough criticals to overpower with Throw, and life is beautiful. The other variant looks very promising using Tybalt's and Banish Lords to always overpower. I definitely fancy decking this build out with GG gear and seeing what it can really do. The variant you see here uses Era Perdition, Shroud of False Death, Ariet's Bearing, Yin's Blessing, the Third Blade, and Doombringer, and the Ring of Starless Skies. Quite a lineup, but probably worth trying if you have some of these items already laying around in the old stashola. When I chose to do Chain Lightning for Sorceress, it was mainly because I played Lightning Spear to death in Season 5. If you haven't tried either of these builds in a while, Sorceress is a great class. It offers mobility and defense, while still delivering plenty of damage to farm T4 content. Another gear-heavy build, I used the Mobalytics Frost Wrath as a template to build my Sorceress. It uses Era Perdition, Shroud of False Death, Frostburns, Axial Conduit, Talrasha's Loop, and the Ring of Starless Skies. You might be seeing a pattern here. Much like Lightning Spear, you'll be dealing with Conjuration Mastery and creating synergies via aspects. Expect to zoom once you get this build dialed in. For last, we have the Bone Spirit Necromancer. This is by far the most convoluted of the bunch. Taking advantage of a full skill rotation, this build is capable of delivering huge overpower bursts. However, the setup is a bit tedious at best. For my run, I used Macro BioBoy's Max Roll Guide for Bone Spirit. It uses the Shaco, Blood Moon Breeches, Path of Trangul Boots, and the Banished Lord's Talisman. From what I understand, the rotation is something like this. Create a corpse, use tendrils to suck in mobs and debuff them, Bone Prison around them, then Bone Spirit for crazy overpowered damage. The long short of this setup is it's fucking slow. In comparison, slower than every other class I tried. However, my gear is crap, my knowledge is crap, especially Bone Spirit. In fact, it's my first Bone Spirit Necro. I wouldn't say I hate this build, however, it's my least favorite of the builds I tried, despite the damage being very promising. If you just have to do a Necromancer, consider your options because you might have a better time going Blood Wave or Blood Surge. If you don't mind elaborate setups and just want the big damage with screen explosions, Bone Spirit might be for you. Alright guys, if you try one of the builds I've showcased here, let me know. Have fun and stay safe, my friends.